Shalom, children. In our story last time, Yeshua had warned the people about the hypocrisy of the Pharisees. He had told the crowd they ought to listen to the Pharisees when they teach the Torah of Adonai, but they were not to do the things the Pharisees did, because they had added lots of extra laws which created burdens far too heavy for men to carry. Our story continues today when Yeshua and the taught ones left the set-apart place to head over to the Mount of Olives. As they walked past the grand structures of the temple, some of the disciples remarked how beautiful the workmanship was. Yeshua said to them, "You see all these buildings? There will be a great destruction, and not one stone will be left upon another." Once they arrived at the Mount of Olives, and Yeshua had sat down, 4 of his taught ones, Kepha, Yaakov, Yohanan, and Andrew, went over to him and asked him privately, "When will the buildings be destroyed? What will be the sign of your coming, and what will happen at the end of this age?" Well, that certainly was a lot of questions rolled into one. Yeshua began to answer by firstly warning them not to be deceived, because many were going to come saying that Yeshua was the Anointed One, but walk without the Torah guiding their lives. This would cause many to be confused and be led astray. He then told them there would be great and terrible wars between people groups and between kings who ruled over different lands. He spoke about times of great famine and of diseases that would come, and even earthquakes in different places. He warned them that they would be arrested and put into prison for following the way, and some of them would be killed for saying Yeshua was the Messiah. He said false teachers would rise up and mislead believers away from the truth. This would cause many to stop showing love and kindness towards each other. But then he encouraged them, saying, "Do not be afraid when you see all these things happen, because those who remain steadfast and believe to the end will be saved." He told them the way to the kingdom was going to be preached throughout the whole earth. But sadly, Jerusalem was going to be destroyed and the people scattered abroad. Yeshua said at the time of his return, the sun will be dark and the moon will not give its light. But of that day and hour, no one knows, only the Father in heaven. A great trumpet will sound, and messengers from heaven will gather the elect from the whole earth. Does the trumpet blowing remind you of any one of the feasts? Trumpets or shofars are blown during all the Moedim, but one feast in particular rarely stands out, even in its name. Have you guessed it yet? Yom Teruah, the day of blowing. And did you know that over time this Moedim became known by the name "No man knows the day nor the hour"? Because the new moon had to be sighted by 2 witnesses in the night sky before it could be announced that Yom Teruah had begun. Now, I'm not a detective, but it sure sounds like the king will return at the same time as the Feast of Trumpets. Yeshua gave an illustration. He said, "When a tree starts to put forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So too, when you see these signs, you know that my coming is near." He said the coming of the kingdom of heaven can be likened to 10 maids who attend to the bride on her wedding day. he said the maids took their lamp and went forth to meet with the bridegroom. Now, children, in those days a wedding wasn't organized quite like it is today. Back then, the bride didn't know what day she was going to get married on, so she couldn't arrange the meals or send out invitations for a particular date. No, back then it was the bridegroom's father who decided when his son was ready. When it was time, he sent the son to go and fetch his bride and bring her back to the new home. The bride and her maids would have seen all the signs and known that the wedding was going to happen very soon. The bridegroom then would send out some of his friends to go ahead. They would blow on shofars, announcing that he was on his way. All of this usually happened at night time, so the women needed lamps to light their way. In Yeshua's parable, he told them, 5 of the maids were wise and had plenty of oil stored up for their lamps. But 5 of the maids were foolish and did not take extra oil. The foolish women said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, because our lamps have gone out." But the wise said, "No, there will not be enough for you and us. Go to those who sell the oil and buy it from them." Whilst they were gone, the bridegroom arrived, and those who were ready went with him to the marriage, and the door was shut behind them. Later on, when the foolish maids finally arrived, they cried out, "Master, open the door!" But the bridegroom replied, "I tell you the truth, I do not know you." Yeshua finished the parable by concluding, "Watch therefore, because you do not know the day nor the hour when the Son of Man will come." How terribly sad those foolish maids could not be part of the great wedding celebration. They should have prepared ahead of time by storing up their oil, so they would have been ready when the bridegroom arrived. We can read a great deal about oil in the scriptures. It was a very important part of the sacrifice in the temple offerings, and it was used to anoint both the set-apart place and the priests. Oil was used in the menorah inside the set-apart place. And in the parable, the maids needed oil to light their lamps, to show them the way to the bridegroom. Oil in the scriptures usually came from olives which had to be crushed. When we go through a difficult time, we often say, "We have been crushed." We heard Yeshua talk about a lot of crushing that was going to happen. But do you remember what he said? If we remain steadfast to the end, we will be saved. So when we go through a trial, if we hold on to our faith in Yeshua, we too will produce oil for our lamps. And when we hear the great trumpet blast, like the wise maids, we will be ready to go out and meet with the bridegroom. Well, children, that is the end of our story for today. So we will see you next time for another exciting journey in the life of Yeshua. Shalom.
Yahweh is my light. Yahweh is my salvation. Yahweh is my strength, the strength of my life.